Welcome to How You Livin', a transformative podcast featuring best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and minister, Dr. Rick Rigsby. And now, Dr. Rick.
Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening. It's time now to continue a conversation we began with the last episode under the title, The Essence of Greatness, Part 1. Part 1 is subtitled, The Pain of Success. In Part 1, we discussed the necessity of pain in order to grow. Our conversation was assisted greatly by the work of Samuel Chand in his wonderful book titled, Leadership Pain, The Classroom for Growth. In this book, Chand argued that growth equals change, change equals loss, loss equals pain, so inevitably, growth equals pain. His conclusion? No pain, no growth. If we're not committed to change, we should not expect to grow. Oftentimes, our growth is hijacked because of comfort. Comfortable habits can cause familiar ruts. I recall taking a golfing lesson years ago. The golf pro shared something very revealing. He said that most golfers shortcut their own improvement. And I was right in that category. He said, once the lesson is finished and we practice on our own, our tendency is to practice our strengths, to work on our strengths, but to devote little time to attacking our weaknesses. I need to remind every one of us, myself at the top of the list, great people do things that other people don't. A price must be paid to accomplish greatness. You have to move beyond the chains and shackles of simply working in that area called familiar and improving only those strengths. You have to get uncomfortable. And it's critical, even if it means upsetting our routines. Don't forget the words of Albert Einstein, who said insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The thesis of The Essence of Greatness, Part 1, is simply titled, Not Everyone Will Be Successful. Everyone can be successful. We all have the capacity, but not everyone is willing to pay the price. The essence of greatness requires a singularity of purpose, which produces a tenacious determination that results in a focus incapable of distraction. Bottom line, without purpose, there is no singular priority in our lives. Without a singularity of priority, there is no daily focus. And without a daily focus, we practice only that which is familiar and comfortable. And we avoid all other areas that have the potential to produce pain in our lives. You know what? I loved what Chand concluded in his book. He said, when you interpret your pain as bigger or more important or more threatening or more comprehensive than your vision, you'll redefine your vision down to the threshold of your pain. So in Part 1 of this podcast, I shared that the motivation for this series is a personal one. For the last couple of years, I've been on a life-changing health journey. I should say I've gone from 310 pounds to 180 pounds. And more important to me, I'm healthy. For the first time in 60 plus years, I'm healthy. I'm not here to discuss the outcome of my weight journey. I'd much rather discuss the process. For if we focus on the process, the outcome will take care of itself. Regardless of the pain of the process, I am committed every day to a healthy lifestyle. And this means I am more than willing to endure the pain. I've discovered the joy and satisfaction that pain offers our lives, a thrill of achievement that is so euphoric, I'll never go back to my old way of life. The pains I've endured the past few years opened the door to immeasurable growth. In fact, I no longer even refer to them as pains, but opportunities. Opportunities that I have created in order to grow. Here are my top 3 opportunities. Number 1, you must yield control in order to gain control. I lived a lifestyle that was completely out of control. I had to learn to yield control in order to regain control. Number 2, you must be willing to have a teachable spirit. Friends, if you don't have a teachable spirit, you're going to stay at the same level you are right now. I love the old adage, if you're the smartest person in your group, you need a new group. And third, and perhaps most important, I think this was the most important opportunity that I've learned as I've moved from pain to opportunity. You have to answer the why question. If you can't answer why should I change? You will never tolerate the pain of change. And let me tell you, change is painful. Growth is painful. There's no shortcut to excellence. There's no shortcut to greatness. And it was painful to correct negative behaviors that I had developed over the last 60 plus years, like being an emotional eater, allowing emotions to trigger my eating, or eating with my eyes. I'd be completely satisfied. My stomach would be full, but I would see food and I would say, I've got to have that. But without that pain, there is no confrontation within that leads to growth. And it's the growth that leads to new discoveries. I discovered the difference between hunger and need. Such discoveries pull us out of the stalls, pull us out of the ruts that we have developed in our lives. You see, the essence of greatness means that you must be willing to endure the pain. You'll never endure the pain unless you can answer the why question. So, the essence of greatness, part 1, subtitled The Pain of Success, offers our foundation on which to build. This episode, which is part 2, is titled The Blueprint for Success. Here's the central theme. Do hard better. Oh boy. This is a difficult sell in this generation, but here's the theme once again. Do hard better. In our present society, we are not rewarded for doing hard better. We're rewarded for presenting well, looking good, speaking well, and above all, finishing quickly. As a matter of fact, we're given great kudos for finishing first. This represents a profound shift when it comes to previous generations. When we compare ourselves to the generations of our grandparents and our parents, it wasn't about finishing first. It was about not walking away from a job before it was completed. It was about doing our best and giving our best effort. I mean, I can still hear my mother and father and the moms and dads in our neighborhood echoing to us children, work your best, do your best. My father, the wisest man I ever met in my life, that third grade dropout, said this so many times when I was growing up. Son, if you're going to do a job, do it right. Now, grammatically, that's not correct. It ought to be do it well, but I got the point. I got the message, and I practice it to this very day. If I'm going to do something, commit to something, give the effort to doing it, I must do it to the best of my ability. I can still hear the voice of my father in my brain echoing with a piercing familiarity. Hey, son, I just saw what you did. You were supposed to clean the bathroom, as an example. That's not good enough, son. Do it again. Friends, I got to tell you, back in my day, it didn't matter what you had planned later in the day. When your parents said, do it again, you dropped everything and you did it again. And it had better been done the right way. What the people of that generation were trying to pass on to us was this. Do not shy away from hard. Do not run away from hard, but learn to do hard better. Oh, this is a tough sell in our automated, highly technical world of the 21st century, where we're constantly looking for shortcuts and easy way out. But what we don't realize is that when we take shortcuts, when we produce an easy way out, it's creating a different mentality, a mentality that offers us permission to render sloppy work, to give work that is unfinished. Rather than taking pride in doing a good job, we boast about how quickly we finish the job. Friends, I read an interesting article by Tim Denning in a post by Success Magazine. The article had a title that captured my attention. Here was the title of Denning's article. If your life sucks, it's proof you need to do more hard things. Isn't that great? According to Denning, when we do hard things, it's uncomfortable. No wonder we run from hard things as if they're a brown bear wanting to eat us for lunch. Denning argued that we can learn much from organizations like the Navy SEALs, who constantly preach adversity is opportunity. Adversity generates wisdom. Adversity shows us the potential of who we can become. Wow, I like that. Friends, life is hard. Life is hard, and that's not a bad thing. Believing that life is easy perpetuates a very welcomed and familiar myth that keeps us comfortable. You know what else it does? It guarantees a lack of growth in our lives. For years, I thought losing weight was easy. Losing weight is easy. The problem was I was focused on the outcome and not the process. Losing weight is easy. Transforming your life into a new lifestyle, that's what's hard. That's exactly what our world is populated with these days. Quick fixes. Quick fixes. How do I lose all this weight in 1 week? All of these diet plans that promote easy and quick. Now, I'm not judging here. Many of those plans have good results for a lot of people who are living healthy lives. However, in my journey, for me personally, I discovered that a quick fix was nothing more than a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. In other words, I never got to the root of my issue. I was constantly, for years, for decades, seeking the easy way out. Then a few years ago, it hit me, but only after I answered the why question. Why should I go through the pain of changing my life? Why should I go through the uncomfortableness of transformation? The answer? I'm a man in my 60s. I weigh over 300 pounds. And when I started looking around, I didn't see many men over 300 pounds who were in their 60s. I began to think about the months after my first wife passed away in 1996. The sheer agony, the devastation, the loneliness. I forced myself to go there for a season. You see, friends, I know what it's like to be widowed. I know what it's like to see the faces of little children who had to say goodbye to their mother. And I also, these days, know what it's like to live with grandchildren, to play with grandchildren, to experience life with grandchildren. The why became as obvious as the nose on my face. Here's the point. If you cannot answer the why question, you'll never, ever endure the pain of change. You will not give yourself a reason for which to transform. And if you don't give yourself a reason to change, it becomes virtually impossible to tolerate the pain associated with change. And so, at this hour, right now, I'm inviting you to take on a simple yet profound mission. Take this one step. It's what our grandparents taught our parents who passed on to us. May I remind you of this simple step. Today, this very hour, develop a new mindset that says from this day forward, I will relentlessly commit totally to doing hard better. Friends, what awaits you is a kind of freedom and joy that you cannot possibly imagine. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Until we meet again, this is Dr. Rick asking the most important question I can ask. How you living?
Are you ready to make an impact in your world right now? Do you want to stop existing and start living your best life right now? Dr. Rick wants to give you the first chapter of his best-selling book, Lessons from a Third Grade Dropout, absolutely free. Just go to www.rickrigsby.com/free gift to get the print or audiobook right now.
This is the podcastfactory.com.